What is up, YouTube? My name is Eben, and today, on The Edge, where I attempt to convince you that there are cool things waiting just inside your trading binder, we are going to take a look at this promo card, which is pretty amazing. I at first thought it was really lackluster, but the more I think about it, the more I think this card actually has a lot of potential. It is Beheeyem BREAK. It's the first break card we featured on the channel. But for those of you who aren't yet familiar with Pokemon Break Evolution, basically you take the normal Pokemon that has the same name, so in this case Beheeyem, and, oh look, a Beheeyem, how convenient. And you treat this just like a regular evolution card, so you can't just straight up right away play it, but then when it is time that you could evolve, you just place this right here. And you keep your weakness, your resist, your retreat, and everything like that, but you get a new HP. I suppose you could potentially get new typing, but that hasn't happened yet. But, you know, who knows about that? You might be able to change types by break evolving at some point. And you keep your old attacks, but you also add a new attack or ability or whatever the case may be. So first, let's take a look at just Beheeyem BREAK itself. 130 HP for what is in many ways essentially a stage 2 Pokemon. You know, not the greatest, but there are kind of ways we can work around that, and we'll get to that. The main allure to running this guy, other than boosting the HP of your Beheeyem, is its Cosmic Circle attack. 3 Psychic for 100 damage. Okay, not the greatest energy cost, because we can't cheese it with Dimension Valley to make it cheaper, because there's no colorless there, and we can't use a double colorless energy either. But it allows you to move as many psychic energies attached to your Pokemon to your other Pokemon in any way you want. It's kind of like a pseudo Aromatisse, but for psychic Pokemon. So kind of an interesting mon. But like I say, at first he looks kind of, maybe a little meh, kind of unexciting, a casual deck only. But I think there may be more to this guy. But of course, with all break Pokemon, we have to consider that that's only half the Pokemon. He does have a 1 and a 2 energy attack, essentially, because his earlier form retains those attacks. His Mind Bullet for a single psychic energy is actually a pretty interesting attack. It allows you to do 20 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon times the amount of energy cards attached to it. Or sorry, the number of energy attached to it, not energy cards, excuse me. And what's cool about that is it's not their defending Pokemon, it's just any of their Pokemon, allowing you to snipe some good damage onto benched Pokemon, potentially setting you up for Lysander plays, or KOs later in the game when those Pokemon try to become active. It kind of hampers their ability to storm through and maybe pick up 2 KOs, instead perhaps limiting them to 1 when they come in. So that's a pretty cool attack. Heck, it might even be able to score some cheesy knockouts when people try to retreat to the bench after having been damaged. And Psybeam's noteworthy too. For 2 Psychic, it's 50 damage. Not the best, not the worst. But it has guaranteed confusion, which in the early part of the game could actually be kind of significant and might be the difference between your opponent getting an early lead and not. Instead, potentially giving you an early lead either by not attacking, retreating out before they really have a nice free retreat system set up, or damaging themselves in confusion if they take the risk. So definitely an interesting combination of Pokemon here. And this guy has all 3 attacks, which, like I say, is nice, because that means you can evolve straight up, and you never have to worry about not being able to attack as a result of evolving all the way to get the HP. Because, like I say, he's always got an attack for each amount of energy he could carry. But alright, let's think about his primary allure, which is the energies he moves, right? Well, of course, he can move basic psychic energies, but we can also move rainbow energies, because they are technically psychic energies. So just like with Aromatisse, we can attach these and then move them around with Beheeyem's attack all we want. So in theory, we could use this to do some kind of creative things. And Mystery Energy is nice because it counts as a psychic while it's on the field, which is where Beheeyem cares about it being. And this could be used to kind of move around potential free retreats and whatnot. That's nice. And also, if Beheeyem BREAK, say, wanted to move all of his psychic energy off himself onto somebody else, and then your opponent doesn't choose to knock him out, thinking they can leave him in as a way to sort of punish you, maybe buy themselves a little bit of time if you're aggressing them, you can easily attach a Mystery Energy from your hand to take care of this guy's 1 energy retreat and instead make it free. And potentially letting that Beheeyem come back later also with 1 energy already on him that he could use to set up for another attack, or if nothing else, Mind Bullet somebody. So these are definitely some nice things we can move with Beheeyem. And evacuating all that energy off of him is kind of an attractive concept in some ways. You can also use it, of course, to evacuate energy off of some of your other Pokemon. What's cool about that is that sets you up for plays with cards like as it allows you just to basically have a pain-free AZ where you move all the energy away, which would normally be something that you'd have to consider when playing AZ, is the fact that you might lose all the energy off that Pokemon. But let's think about it. You could have a big Wrecking Ball with a lot of HP that takes a really heavy hit. Well, then you could switch in Beheeyem, and whereas you might have a Lysander target sitting on your bench otherwise, you could fire Beheeyem and then on the next turn, surprise your opponent with an AZ and pick up that Pokemon that Beheeyem just moved all those energies off of. And yeah, okay, maybe your opponent gets aggressive with Lysander, but Beheeyem still moved the energy off of it, in which case all they're going to get is the knockout, but they won't deprive you of all those energies you attached because Beheeyem Break will be able to move them onto another Pokemon. So either way, that's a pretty attractive play, and when Beheeyem Break moves the energy off that Pokemon, going for an aggressive knockout with Lysander is probably not something your opponent's going to want to do unless it's going to win him the game. And of course, hard to mention AZ in combination with this ability to scoot energies around when, that is to say, if we don't also mention Super Scoop Up and soon to be reprinted Max Potion. All these cards really appreciate you moving energies around, allowing you to keep them on the field and powering things up to attack with. Of course, Beheeyem Break probably wants to be able to take one good attack himself, and at 130 HP, he might be just a little on the frail side. But that's okay, because we've got cards like Hard Charm to buff him a little bit, or Assault Vest, depending on what your meta is in your local tournament, or what you're anticipating in a large tournament. And these cards can definitely give Beheeyem Break the resilience he needs to take one hit, and then potentially get picked right back up to your hand. I mean, in an ideal world, you put Assault Vest on him, let's say, hit your opponent for 100, which is going to be a 2-hit KO most likely on somebody anyway, but let's say they hit you pretty hard, well, then you can just Super Scoop Up on the next turn with your energies already moved around, and instead of having to replay those energies, they're already on the next Pokemon in line who's going to come up to take Beheeyem Break's place. Meantime, you can start playing those Beheeyem pieces back down, L-Gem, Beheeyem, and then Beheeyem Break, onto your bench to already start setting up for your next Beheeyem Break, and you never lost a prize card there in setting up essentially a brand new Pokemon. And of course, let's take this opportunity to talk about the fact that Beheeyem Break only coughs up one prize. He's big and he's shiny like an EX, but he doesn't surrender 2 prizes when he goes away, and that's kind of awesome. So you can evacuate his energy, let him get knocked out, and don't feel too bad. But what are we moving energies to anyway? How about Mega Mewtwo EX for starters? This guy, well, he just appreciates having energies dumped onto him, and the thought of having 3 psychic energies just dropped right onto his head, giving him a base power of 100 on his attack, even if he had nothing before or after you did that, that's pretty nice. I mean, if we put a couple energies on a Mega Mewtwo EX, it's not that suspicious, but if Beheeyem suddenly pukes 3 energies onto him, or more, because he could move them from other Pokemon, that could be pretty amazing. Or let's say you've got one of these already out, but he's taken some damage. Beheeyem Break can shift those onto a new one, or a completely different Pokemon too, as this guy can be a big receptacle for energies. And since we're talking about Mewtwo's, how about just Mewtwo EX? Current format Mewtwo EX's Shatter Shot really likes having psychic energies, which is kind of convenient since that's what Beheeyem Break likes to throw on things. And of course, setting up a damage change isn't bad either. And the old Mewtwo EX, if you're playing in expanded format, doesn't mind having energies dropped onto him either. Pretty good for both those guys, really. Of course, we're not necessarily limited to just psychic users only, as after all, we can attach different energies from our hand or use rainbow energy. So that makes us think about bigger, badder hitters than just regular Mewtwo, potentially. Things like Yveltal EX, whose Evil Ball would definitely like that boost, that ability to switch a ton of energy on quickly for big, big hits. And even potentially getting picked up later, of course, doesn't hurt Yveltal either, as he's quick and easy to power up. And, of course, that's just the tip of the iceberg for that guy, as we also have the ability to use Giratina EX, who likes psychic energies and only needs 1 energy of another type as well, but sometimes has kind of a slow windup. And you can just drop this guy onto the bench when you're ready to attack with Beheeyem Break and literally move all but 1 energy that this guy needs to attack right away onto him. And that already assumes you don't have any energy from anywhere else you're going to be moving. Or you could even power up the Hits Through Anything X form of Mega Mewtwo as well. By shifting around rainbow energies, you could easily get this guy ready to go as well. And there are lots of other strategies that work here too. And the main point is this card has potential, and what looked like a stinker out of a set of 3 promos might actually turn out to be one of the most interesting, and might just be able to win your local. Or, at the very least, you could have some fun with your friends by playing a Maverick card for sure. So anyway, until next time, like, comment, subscribe, check me out on Twitter. Link is below. You'll find out about things early, which is kind of awesome. Why wouldn't you want to do that? And I will see you next time.